Hi there everybody, this is MAW0001 again with another review. This is for the second week of number 2s for DC 52. There's a few number 1s in here as well, but there you go. You'll have to excuse me, I've still got a cold, so if you hear any strange noises coming from this recording, then that's why, honestly, I promise. As always, in this video, the reviews and the opinions of this video are mine and mine alone. If you want to go out and buy these comics, or you have bought these comics and you've enjoyed them, that's fair enough. If you want to go out and buy these comics, then please do so. Make up your own mind on them. This is just my opinion on the comics that were brought out by DC this week. Just remember, whatever comics you buy, make sure you enjoy them. First up, and as always, it's the worst comic of the week, Superboy. I really don't think Scott Liddell knows anything about this character. There just doesn't seem to be anything in this comic book that I like. The artwork horrible, the storytelling is atrocious. The last series of Superboy was really good. They could have really made a really good series out of that. This series of Superboy, I wouldn't even line the bottom of my rat's cage with this comic, just in case the terribleness of it, harmed my pets anyway. It just is a horrible, horrible comic, and I really don't see what they're doing with this character, and they should stop, basically, with it. Deathstroke. The only redeeming feature about this comic book is the fact that there is a Simon Beasley cover on the front of it. Everything else about this comic is just rubbish. There is no substance to this comic. There is nothing to this comic. Even the artwork is terrible. There's just lots of explosions, lots of people getting hacked to pieces and shot, and then at the end of it, Deathstroke saying, "Don't screw with me," There is no storytelling in this comic at all. There is just lots of explosions, lots of people getting shot, and lots of people getting cut up, and that's it. It's very one-dimensional. If anything, really bad. The Suicide Squad. Nothing that is done in this comic hasn't been done by another comic book company and hasn't been done better. The story in this is it's flatlined even before it started. The artwork in it isn't that nice, and it's an old gripe, but what they've done with Harley Quinn is just ridiculous. She looks like a $5 hooker, and not a very nice one, See, I'm lost for words. It's that bad. I am lost for words for this. There is no redeeming feature whatsoever in this comic, and the sooner DC cancels this, the better. Really, as far as I'm concerned. Next up, we have Grifter, another Wildstorm character that is being forcibly rammed into the DC universe. Does anybody remember the old TV series, The Invaders? The old 1960s TV series, I think it was 1960s or 1950s, where there was a guy that knew there was an alien invasion going on, and he was the only person who knew it was happening, and he was the only person who could recognise who was an alien because their little finger looked a bit dodgy. Well, this is basically exactly the same, but a million times worse than the TV series. The TV series is a lot better, The artwork in there is nice, really nice artwork, but there is no story to this. And again, it's a comic book that the story has been done, but it's been done miles better. So, and you can't have a comic book with nice artwork and terrible writing. Talking about terrible writing, Batgirl. Again, old gripe, but DC Comics, do you really think comic book fans are idiots? do you? Because you're treating them like idiots. Barbara Gordon, she gets shot, her spine gets shattered, and then it's a miracle. She can walk again. In fact, she can do some things that gold medalist gymnasts can't do. Unless you're going to do something like put things in there like nanobots, or somebody with healing powers come along in the middle of the night and manipulated her spine and made her walk again, you're going to lose people. And it's just, to me, it's just a big slap in the face to the comic book fans of this character when she was Batgirl or Oracle, the way that DC has portrayed this character now. It's just a terrible comic. Batman and Robin. Yeah, it's... if you want to buy a Batman comic, buy Batman #1 or Detective Comics #2, because Batman and Robin is nothing compared to those two comics. What they were doing before the reboot with the character Damian was really good. They were, he was maturing. He was actually becoming a character. By the end of this comic, I wanted to do to the character. I wanted to do to Damian what he did to the Bat. Yeah, and if you've read this comic, you'll know what I mean. And that's what I'm going to say on this matter. And the artwork inside isn't much better either. It's a no-go with this comic, I'm afraid, for people. It's just another boring reboot comic, unfortunately. Not much else I can say on the matter. Next we have Mr. Terrific. Yeah, it's okay. Interesting story. Artwork in it's pretty nice. Not too keen on the way they're portraying the character of Karen Starr. I liked her a hell of a lot better as she was as Power Girl. Don't know where they're going with this with the character, but the story does have some quite interesting underlying plot ties, and yeah, I might pick up #3. I'll see how I feel. There are a lot better comics out there than this, but if nothing else grabs my fancy, or if any of the miniseries that I'm getting finishes, I'll probably pick this up. But like I said, there are a lot better comics than this one out there, and it's an okay comic. It's just okay. Legion's Lost. It's better than #1. The artwork's nice, and it's not as confusing as the first issue. There you go. I said 3 nice things about a comic that DC brought out this week. See, I can be done. Other than that, it's okay. Like I said, the artwork's nice. The characters are more developed now. I know it's only been 1 issue, but they do seem to be more developed. And it isn't as confusing as the first one. The reader isn't just dropped in from out of the sky into an ocean of information that you have no idea what's going on. But again, there are a lot better comics out there, and this comic is just okay. Next is Green Lantern, and I think Jeff Jones is getting stale on this. Last series, couldn't fault it. Absolutely brilliant series, fantastic. This series, it is very stale, very stagnant. Not much is happening. The artwork is okay. The storytelling is pedestrian. There's a couple of interesting twists, but come on, we all know that at the end of this, Hal Jordan is going to be wearing the Green Lantern uniform properly. Hal Jordan is going to be Green Lantern again, and be Green Lantern properly again. But yeah, again, it's one of those comic books where it's okay, but there are much better comics out there at the moment. The Shade, really nice comic. Anybody out there that read James Robinson's Starman series will like this. It brings you back to Opal City. You've got the blue-skinned alien, Michael, who is reprising his role as Starman, but not as the Starman from the James Robinson series. You've got the O'Dares are back in it, and you've got the character the Shade. It's a really nice story, really nice comic. The only thing that brings it down is the artwork. They need a much stronger artist on here to make this comic what it could be, which is a really good comic. And I did find at some points there was occasions where I was reading the comic and the artwork was so bad it was actually distracting me from the story, and you don't want that when you're reading a comic book. So, but it's it's good. It's better. Now, Frankenstein, Agent of Shade is another one of those comics where the writing is really good, but the artwork lets it down. This comic is very Lovecraftian. There does seem to be a lot of comics out there that are Lovecraftian. If you saw my video, my last video, there's the miniseries Witch Doctor, which has a lot of H.P. Lovecraft influence in it, from what I can see. And this is another one. It's a really good story, really nice writing in it, and really interesting characters. But again, I was distracted by the pretty poor artwork inside. It's not as bad as Hawk and Dove, if that makes any difference to you. Again, it's a really good story, really good comic, but it's just let down by the artwork. Demon Knights. Wow. Not as good as issue 1, but it's still pretty good. Artwork in it is still nice. The storytelling in it is still nice. A little bit of the shines come off of it from the first issue, but the way they're portraying the characters in here is interesting, and it does have me interested in wanting to read more. Vandal Savage is a lot closer to his barbaric roots, his caveman roots in this comic, than he is in, or was in, the before the reboot stories of him, which had him in it. Also, the demon character is a lot different to what he's been portrayed as, and nowadays sort of stories. But yeah, interesting story, interesting comic, really nice artwork. Resurrection Man. If you enjoyed reading the first series of Resurrection Man, which I believe was in 94 to 97, you'll probably enjoy this. The creative team hasn't changed. Same artist, same writer, and from what I can tell, same story. Bit confusing because I don't know whether the Resurrection Man actually knows the female assassins, the body doubles, or whether he's just forgotten again. So that's a little bit confusing. Hopefully they'll clear that up a bit. But yeah, it's an interesting comic. It's a really nice read. It's really fun, and it's a character that changes powers every time he dies. It's like Dial H for Heroes, but a bit more, less dially. But it's a really good comic, alright, and a really good artwork as well inside. My Greatest Adventure. I like anthology comics. Maybe it's because I come from the UK, and every comic that comes from the UK is an anthology comic. I liked Action Comics when it was Action Comic Weekly. I liked the Showcase miniseries that DC brought out in the 90s, and I like this. You've got a new version of Robot Man, which looks like it still is Cliff Steele, but it's just been rebooted with a reboot. You've also got the characters Garbage Man and Tanga, who don't seem to have changed from the reboot, and they're interesting and fun stories. The Robot Man one does seem to be a follow-on from the Suicide Squad story, but it seems to be done. It is done a lot better than the Suicide Squad story. So another good comic, and I don't think there's much surprise about this one. Batwoman #2. The artwork and the writing is just like liquid poetry. I can't fault this comic at all. It's just a gorgeous, wonderful comic. After I read it, I felt all warm inside about the fact that I read it. It's just one of those comics that really does make you proud to be a comic book fan. You know, I've read it. I can't wait for issue 3 to come out. And just look at that picture. Look at it. It is absolutely gorgeous. You know, there is nothing I can think of to say bad about Batwoman #2. And it is just a joy to read. If you haven't got it already, I really should be picking it up because it is really good. Well, there you go. That's my review for the new comics. Thank you for watching. As always, if you like my videos, please subscribe. If you've got any questions or you just want to make a comment, please use the comment section down below. Again, thank you for listening to me with my cold. I hope I wasn't sniffing and snorting and coughing too much. And as always, just remember, when you read comics, make sure that you enjoy them, because that's what they're there for, to be enjoyed. So hopefully I'll be getting another video up soon. It might be a live one, and maybe another couple of review ones of comics that aren't DC, because I actually do read comics that aren't DC, honestly. So as always, thanks for watching. Ta-ta for now.